His challenge, sharp as a sudden crack of thunder, echoed through the quiet dojo. "Come on, old man, show us what you've got. Or are those medals just for show?" The young black belt, all swagger and gleaming confidence, smirked at the stoic figure before him. A hush fell, heavy and thick, as every eye in the room turned to the veteran, a man whose face held the silent stories of 1,000 sunrises and sunsets in distant, dust-choked lands. The air itself seemed to brace for impact, for the clash of arrogance against an unspoken, deeper strength. The veteran, Mr. Silas, stood perfectly still. His uniform, though crisp, showed the faint, honorable wear of countless parades and ceremonies. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, held no anger, only a profound, weary calm as he looked at the young man. This wasn't just about a challenge. It was about something far greater, something the young black belt, in his youthful zeal, could not yet grasp. It was about the quiet dignity of a life lived for something beyond oneself, a truth about battles fought not just with fists, but with heart and spirit. Decades earlier, a much younger Silas had stood on a different kind of training ground. The air then was thick with the scent of burning tires and the metallic tang of fear. He was just a boy from a small town, barely out of school, when the call to serve echoed through the nation. He remembered the crisp, starched feeling of his first uniform, the weight of the rifle in his hands, and the lump in his throat as he waved goodbye to his mother, whose face was a mask of brave tears. He had promised to return, a promise that would carve itself into every fiber of his being. His journey took him far, to places where the sun beat down with an unrelenting fury, and the nights were alive with sounds that never quite left a man's memory. He learned to distinguish between the rustle of wind and the whisper of danger, to find comfort in the camaraderie of his brothers in arms, and to face fear with a courage he never knew he possessed. He saw things that no man should ever see, felt losses that tore at the very fabric of his soul. He learned the true cost of freedom, etched in the faces of those he fought alongside and those he could not save. One memory, in particular, always returned to him, vivid and raw. It was a mission deep within enemy territory, a rescue operation that had gone terribly wrong. A young private, barely older than Silas himself, had been critically wounded. The air was thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the cries of desperate men. Silas, despite orders to retreat, had refused to leave the private. He remembered the private's eyes, wide with pain and fear, looking up at him as Silas cradled him, whispering assurances he wasn't sure he could keep. He dragged the private for miles, through dense jungle and treacherous terrain, the boy's blood soaking into his uniform, the weight of a dying life heavy in his arms. He felt the rapid, weakening pulse, heard the last faint breath, and then, only silence. The private's dog tags, cold and metallic, were all Silas had left. He carried them with him, a constant, tangible reminder of the sacrifice, of the young life extinguished too soon. That day, something in Silas changed forever. He carried the scars not on his skin, but deep within his heart, a quiet testament to the promises he had kept and those he could not. Back in the dojo, the tension was a palpable force. The young black belt, Mark, had been a champion in the regional tournaments, his every move a testament to years of rigorous training. He was used to winning, to being the best, and the veteran's silence felt like a challenge to his very identity. Mark saw an old man, perhaps a relic of a bygone era, clinging to faded glory. He didn't see the unwavering spirit that had faced down real danger, the quiet strength forged in the crucible of unimaginable sacrifice. The other students, their faces a mix of curiosity and discomfort, watched in uneasy silence. They knew Mr. Silas, not just as a veteran, but as a quiet, respectful presence in their community. Always the first to offer help, the last to seek praise. They had heard whispers of his service, seen the medals glinting on his chest during community events, but they had never seen him challenged like this. A few shifted their weight, their eyes darting between Mark's confident smirk and Silas's unyielding stillness. No one spoke, no one intervened. The silence of the bystanders amplified the injustice, making the young black belt's disrespectful words hang even heavier in the air. Mark stepped closer, his voice laced with a condescending edge. So, are you going to show us some of those fancy moves? Or are you just going to stand there? This is a dojo, old man, not a museum. He gestured with an open hand, a clear invitation, almost an insult, for Silas to step onto the mat. The other instructors, usually quick to mediate, remained surprisingly still, a silent understanding passing between them as they observed the unfolding drama. Silas finally moved, a slow, deliberate motion. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, something metallic. It wasn't a weapon or even a martial arts tool. It was a pair of dog tags, tarnished with age, but clearly visible in his palm. He held them up, not as a threat, but as an offering, a silent story. The names etched on them were faded, but their meaning was clear. These, Silas's voice was soft, barely a whisper, yet it cut through the silence of the dojo like a sharp blade. These belonged to Private John Peterson. He was 19. He loved to draw. He never got to see his 20th birthday. Mark's smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion. This wasn't the fight he expected. Silas continued, his eyes fixed on the young black belt, not with judgment, but with an almost sorrowful understanding. When I fought for real, Mark, it wasn't for a trophy or a belt. It was for the man next to me. It was for the chance that someone like John could have a future. And when that future was taken, it was for the memory of what he gave. He paused, letting his words sink in, a heavy truth filling the space between them. Every medal, every ribbon I wear, isn't about how well I can throw a punch. It's about the promises I made. It's about the burdens I carried. It's about the silence of those who never came home. The dojo was absolutely still. The students, initially captivated by the prospect of a physical confrontation, now found themselves caught in something far more profound. They saw the true weight of the dog tags, not just as metal, but as a symbol of immeasurable sacrifice. Then, a subtle shift occurred. One of the instructors, a stern-faced man named Master Lee, slowly, deliberately, walked to the edge of the mat. He didn't speak. Instead, he bowed deeply to Mr. Silas, a bow of profound respect that carried the weight of tradition and honor. Another instructor followed, then another. Soon, the entire line of senior martial artists in the dojo stood bowing to the old veteran. Their silent gesture was a powerful, undeniable testament to the veteran's words, an honor that eclipsed any belt or trophy. Mark stood frozen, his eyes darting from the bowing instructors to the weathered dog tags in Silas's hand. The glint of his own black belt suddenly felt hollow, his earlier challenge, crude and meaningless. The air was thick with the unspoken stories, the unheard battles that Mr. Silas carried with him every day. The joke had become a mirror, reflecting not the veteran's weakness, but his own profound ignorance. Finally, Mark, his face now pale and humbled, slowly lowered himself to one knee, a gesture of profound respect and apology. He didn't offer an excuse, didn't try to justify himself. He simply understood. He had challenged a man who had already faced the greatest challenges life could offer, a man whose quiet strength was forged not in a dojo, but in the crucible of duty and sacrifice. Mr. Silas looked at Mark, and a faint, sad smile touched his lips. He gently placed the dog tags back into his pocket. "The truest strength, young man," he said, his voice now gentle but firm, "is knowing what you fight for. And sometimes the greatest battles are fought in silence." The dojo remained hushed, filled not with the expectation of violence, but with a profound sense of shared understanding. The students, once spectators of a potential clash, now bore witness to a powerful lesson. They saw not just a veteran, but a guardian of memory, a quiet hero who carried the weight of history with grace and dignity. The silence that followed was not empty, but filled with a new kind of respect, a recognition of the unseen battles and the quiet honor that truly defines a hero. The story of Mr. Silas is a reminder that the loudest voices are not always the strongest. True strength often resides in those who carry immense burdens with quiet dignity, whose sacrifices echo far beyond the battlefield. It is a call for us to look deeper, to listen not just with our ears but with our hearts, to the silent stories of those who have given so much. Every day, quiet heroes walk among us, their courage etched into the fabric of our communities. Let us always remember to honor them, not just with words, but with genuine respect and understanding. Where are you watching from? And what does true honor mean to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the incredible, silent strength of humanity.